I usually ask the question, what would you tell your younger self? And I would say 80% of the people say, I wish I started sooner. Every business owner, most business owners are very happy with their journey, happy how they're doing, right? And I don't really hear that in corporate, right?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today is another installment of, frankly, my favorite segment. This is called In Their Words. The In Their Words segments are where we're going to hear directly from FranCoach clients who have become franchise owners. We're going to talk about their backgrounds, what led them to consider franchise ownership, how they navigated the process with the FranCoach team, what franchise they chose, and how it has gone so far. This person is in a exciting yet frustrating part of their journey as a franchise owner, the real estate piece, which is going to be fun to talk about as well. Today's guest found FranCoach through this little podcast called Franchising 101. I don't know if you've heard of it. She's incredibly inspirational in her goals for business ownership. She's trying to create a better long-term life for she and her family, and knows that control over having the revenue streams and multiple revenue streams is really the key to building generational wealth. So that's her quick reminder of who we are. FranCoach, we are the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal has nothing to do with selling anything. Frankly, I suck at sales. What we are here to do is educate. We're here to properly educate you on franchise ownership to determine if you should own one. Folks, maybe you shouldn't, but maybe you should. And if so, we're going to help you find what is your absolute best fit. There is no such thing as a best franchise, a worst franchise, a top industry, a worse industry, hottest this, hottest that. Look how much money this franchise makes. None of that is important. Don't believe the hype. This is all about you. We're going to focus on you so we can help you find your best fit. See the common theme? It's all about you. Well, except for today, it's going to be all about our guest, and that's next. Hey, we are back with our guest today. And again, these are my favorite segments. No offense to all of our franchise partners that come on here, but when we get to talk to real live FranCoach clients that have gone through this journey and now become franchise owners and hear all about this. So that's joining us today is Theresa Batiller, owner of Oh, wait, I can't tell everybody what it is yet. It's got to be a secret. We got to have a teaser. She's a franchise owner of something. You don't get that information yet. Right now, we just get Theresa. Theresa, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me today.
I am so excited to talk to you. Thanks for joining us. And I almost ruined the dang thing right off the bat with we have to have spoiler alerts, right? We can't just give it all away at the beginning. It's Theresa. She's a franchise owner of what, how it's gone. We don't know. It's what we're going to find out. So are you ready for this? I told you, this is all nice and easy before we hit record, but I'm actually pretty mean and probably going to try to make you cry along the way. So how are we feeling? Are we ready to go?
I'm ready. Yeah. And I'm excited because before I signed up, I was listening to all your podcasts. So it's an honor to be here as a guest now.
We've kind of gone full circle, which is always fun when that happens. Though now that you're a franchise owner, you're probably not listening anymore. So we've dropped from 8 listeners down to 7. So that's also kind of your fault. Maybe one of the 7 will hear this and then they'll want to reach out to you. But we want to hear all about your journey and eventually the big brand reveal here. But give us a little scoop on Theresa, just kind of your background and kind of how we got into even thinking about this.
Yeah. So, right out of college, I joined a huge corporate company, right? And I've been in corporate for 22, 23 years. My husband as well, right? And we've moved up the ranks and we're doing actually pretty well in our corporate roles. We almost call what you say the golden handcuffs. We have that right now. I have a special needs daughter. And she has a condition where she will never be independent. Regardless how high up, how much money my husband and I make in our corporate roles, the eventually, if we die and she's on her own, she's never going to be independent. So all those savings, all those investments, all those, benefits run out for her. And we have to think like we have to do something else, right, in order to make sure that, she's taken care of. Yeah. We also have a son who's younger than her, but we don't want to put that burden on him. Right. So this is where, we're trying to plan for how do we plan for our retirement and her. And so we figured we needed something else. So gotcha. I started getting into real estate investing about a year or a year and a half ago. Did long-term investing, short-term investing. So I have an Airbnb in Nashville. That's one way, right, to diversify some of our portfolio. And then I started looking at businesses. And, as you read up, you see like the wealthiest people are the ones who own their own businesses. It's not people in the corporate world. We're a very few exception, right, for people in the corporate world. So we started venturing into that. I started looking at just businesses, but I've never been in business. I've never owned a business. So it was really scary. Like, I don't really know that world. Then I heard about franchising. I started, honestly in Spotify, I researched franchising, and your podcast is actually the first one that came up, right? So, which is why I got a lot of education from you. And, break it down. It's a business in a box, right? I mean, the franchisor has figured out everything, the systems, they went through the whole learning curve, and right, they're giving that as a package to the franchisee. And to me, that was perfect. Right. Because I didn't want to spend the time figuring that out. And I don't know how long that would have taken me.
Right.
So I reached out to you to try to figure out what franchise to go with. And to be honest, even before I reached out to you, I started doing my own research. I started looking at Entrepreneur Top 100. There's so much out there. Right. It was really, really hard to figure this out. So that's why I reached out to you. And then we went through this whole process. So then I think I interviewed maybe 4 or 5 franchisors at the same time. Yeah, that whole process was interesting. I thought it's like, oh, here I'm ready to pay. They would take me, but like that's not the case, right? They're interviewing you as well, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, so, no, you're right. No, people don't ever think, well, I just I write a check and they take it, and I'm a franchise owner, and it's not that at all.
No. It's not. So that was quite an interesting process to like almost be interviewed by them. But I like it because at the end of the day, when you think about their position, they're looking at people to almost join their family, right? They're looking for people to, represent their brand, right? And if you bring in someone who isn't going to do that well, it almost takes down the whole brand, right? So that definitely made sense. The nice thing about interviewing they were all very different types of companies, but they all aligned with my values, right? So for one of them, I was looking at, a music school, right? I was really aligned to like helping kids and enrich their lives and show off their talent. Another one, it was really related to health and wellness and spas and really taking care of yourself. And the one that I ultimately end up going with is one that they want to build healthier communities through food. So I ended up, can I tell or
fire away? Let's go.
So I ended up after I would say 6 to 8 weeks of just interviewing different franchisees, I ended up signing with Pure Green. Okay. So Pure Green, they make acai bowls, fresh juices, and smoothies. And I'm excited. I signed with them last November. And I'm currently going through a lease negotiation now.
And that's a whole thing we're going to talk about, right? So, but cool. No, and I appreciate all of that. And I think like so many people that can probably understand that pesky golden handcuff thing. And, and again, you guys you and your husband have done really well, working with a, pretty significant organization, right? But you're right. Unless you're, I love your thing you set up at like the people that are the wealthiest people are rarely corporate employees, and when they are, their title starts with the letter C and then an E, right? And right. So there's only so many people that can get to that point, right? And so the bigger the company, the less likely that's going to be. And so being able to build that wealth for your family is kind of a cool journey. And just random, do you still have the Airbnb in Nashville?
I do. I still have the Airbnb in Nashville. It's tailored for bachelorette parties and girls trips. And so when you look at it, it's super pink. It's really themed. What was scary about that is I had to niche down, my audience. So like I cut off 50% of the population,
Right.
but it's worth it. I mean, I got, the property got recognized in Architectural Digest. It was
cool.
featured there. So it's done pretty well.
Nice. We are going to be in Nashville in mid-November for a conference. I'm like, oh, maybe we'll just rent that. I'm like, I don't know that that's the place that my wife would probably love it, but she'd want to kick me out and bring her girlfriends in. So that doesn't seem like it's going to work out well for me. So, okay, cool. And so what were some of the things as you were going through? Because you had vetted a handful of franchises kind of before we connected. We go through 3 or 4 of them. What were some of the things for you with Pure Green that really kind of triggered that this was the right fit?
Yeah, I mean, well, the first thing, it had to align with my values, right? Because, something, for example, crumble cookie is doing really well. But if I was serving that much sugar to consumers, I would just feel so bad, right? If I don't even eat it myself, right? So it had to be something that I personally consumed. I also wanted brick and mortar. Like, I don't know why, but at that time, I really wanted brick and mortar. I really wanted to go directly to consumer. I didn't feel comfortable going B2B, right? Yeah. So that was another aspect of it. And the third one is, just the footprint of the real estate needed, right? I mean, I live in California. It's super expensive. The other franchises that I was considering, they also align to my value, like, everything that I just said, but the square footage that they required, I mean, I don't know if I would have been profitable, to be honest, right? And that's me not knowing, right? So the fact that I could do this in a smaller square footage, that really helped. And obviously, like, with everything, I liked the team, I connected with them really well. I felt that they provided support. So all of those things were a given. And that's with all the franchisees or franchisors that I talked to. But for me, it was like, just really, what does that cost to start up? That was important.
No, and I think it's one of the key things in this is that there's not a best franchise, or there's not really even a worse franchise. It's there because there may be somebody listening right now and going, I don't want anything to do with brick and mortar. Cool, we got those too, right? Or maybe like, hey, I like something bigger, or I like B2B. Like, that's all part of the journey, and what you did such a great job of going through this was being very open to explore some things that maybe you wouldn't really have thought of. And sometimes that is the one. If not, it helps you solidify. You looked at something bigger, you looked at something B2B. Like, now we're comparing and contrasting to where you just kind of have that comfort. You're like, aha, this is it. Right. Yeah, so, exactly.
And actually, when me and my husband were thinking about opening a small business, we said, we're not going to go into restaurants at all. Like, that's what we said. And that's what we ended up choosing after all the analysis and discussions.
Yeah. And I think one of the advantages of Pure Green is you're in the quote food space, but you're not a typical food franchise. You're not, there's no, like, you're not grilling and frying, and there's not all of those type of things back there. It's a much more, like you said, footprint. You're probably looking at 1,000, 1,200 square feet, something like that.
600.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah. So that, like I was going to say, like, that's their high end. And then you're able to have that with even a smaller space is fantastic. So you're looking at real estate, and I definitely want to hit on that, but you've had an opportunity to do something I don't know that we have talked about on our show. Is you got to go to from the time you've signed and not even open, you got to go to like the franchisor's annual conference.
Yeah.
So, and then just if people see the video of this, your smile that just lit up when we talked about that, I'm going to take it by the smile. That was a good experience. Walk through what that was like.
Yeah, that was nice because I got to meet other franchisees, right? And, Pure Green is growing so fast that there's actually a lot of people who are also new and they're also in the same exact place as me. So one thing that, I didn't know what to expect was the lease negotiation and how long that would take, right? But I talked to a lot of franchisees who are actually in the same position. They actually signed even earlier than I did, and they're still going through it, right? So it almost gave me a sense of, okay, this is what to expect. I wasn't really freaking out, but like it made me now not freak out at all.
Right.
So it was like, okay, at least this is just what it is. So it was really nice to talk to all of them. Obviously, they're like it's nice knowing the culture too, right? Because from a culture perspective, like, everyone's very helpful. They're all of the ones who have been around for years. They're showing their best practices. Giving a lot of tips. Like this is all stuff I would have had to figure out on my own, right? And so like to hear it firsthand from everyone was really nice. And then at that conference, they also launched some new thing. They showed some new things that they're launching, like an app with AI capabilities, which is also great. So it was really just like nice to the whole process. But for me, the most valuable part was just connecting with other franchisees and learning from them.
I think it's one of the most undervalued, underrated, underdiscussed part of being a franchise owner is we talk all about the franchisor and the proven system, the business in the box and the support. Yes to all of those things, but perhaps the best people that you have in your kind of toolbox for help and support and sometimes almost like therapy is the other owners, because you're all in this together. It's your collective brand. And for the things that this year you were able to learn from some of the more tenured owners, a couple years from now, you're going to be at that conference and there's going to be some newbie that's like, oh my goodness, and be able to kind of put your arm around him like, hey, you got this and we're here to help. And not every brand is like that. Pure Green and Ross and his team have done a very good job of creating that collaboration, which is fantastic. So it's so helpful. Don't ever forget the owners are out there to help you. And then again, you're going to be helping them at some point very soon too.
I hope so. Yes.
So talk a little bit about the real estate stuff. I guess, what's that? Because you have a real estate background from a standpoint. You've got a super cool Airbnb in Nashville. That ain't a commercial real estate property, right? That's a totally different like opportunity and experience. Like, how was that going through? Talk about some of the support that you were able to get. And I'm sure that has not all been rainbows and unicorns. So give us a little scoop on that.
Yeah. So, obviously when I signed for Pure Green, I figured, California is a great location to have this, right? I mean, people here are just in general healthy. They like that type of stuff, right? And when I signed, I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm going to put it here or here, like all the really popular shopping complexes that I go to all the time. But then when when we reached out to them, a lot of the landlords said, no, like I can't go there. And that's because they already had a competitor there. They already had a smoothie bar. They already had other people who were serving acai bowls. And that wasn't just one place. That was like probably 10 of my 10 top places said no. And that's not something I anticipated at all. Right. And so that made me think, okay, where do I go now? So I got a list from a realtor and the realtor was vetted by the Pure Green team.
Yeah.
And, they had all the requirements of what we were looking for. I was like, okay, where do I go now? Right. And they gave me a list of 73 places. So I looked at I didn't physically look, but I vetted out every place on that list, right, through Google. And I was looking and, there's certain rules that Pure Green has, like certain anchors, for example, if it's close by some fitness centers, most likely those are the customers who will also go here. So, there's certain places that will work, right. Or there's a little formula for that. But I looked at 73 places. I probably toured maybe 10 places, right? Okay. We did look at a lot and, a lot of it was, it was the square footage was it wasn't big. It was within Pure Green's, Pure Green's footprint, but the cost of real estate was just way too high, right? Yeah. So to give you an example, 1,200 square feet would have been $13,000 a month, right? And that's, I was like, that's not something I can absorb if no customers come in, right? So there's a certain, I really wanted small, right, to reduce my risk and operational costs. And then I finally found some place, right? Fortunately, it's 10 minutes away. And I feel that I'm very lucky that I found something 10 minutes away. I really wanted to be close because the other thing about success of, at least this franchise is you have to be very involved with your community. Right. And so I am. I was afraid if I went somewhere else, and there were places that were farther away, maybe like 30, 40 minutes away. But I didn't know that the community there. Right. And I think the chances of a success would have been lower. So I'm fortunate that I found a place 10 minutes away. You have to submit something called an LOI, a letter of intent. And that just gives like all the high level, requirements. Right. And so that went back and forth for about 2 months. Right. And then it goes through lease negotiation.
Right.
Right. And so like just even obviously with, your own personal real estate or an Airbnb, you don't have to go through letter of intent. Right. You just put a bid. Right. You find it on the MLS and you just put a bid. Right. Here's like, okay, LOI for me took about 2 months. And then now we're going through lease negotiation, which the terms are generally aligned with in the LOI, but there's still more details, right? And so, they gave it to us, the lease negotiation, the lease, and then we went back to them, and then the landlord took like 4 weeks to get back to me.
Right.
Right. And that's why it's like, I'm just waiting, right? 4 weeks. Then finally they responded. Obviously we responded back. Then it was like another 3 weeks. Yeah. Right. And it's just like this long process. And I think that's what I didn't expect. I didn't expect it to be so long because in residential, right?
It's boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Within a week, you kind of know. But here it's been months. And I think that's the part that I liked about going to the summit is like everyone experienced the same thing. Right. So when I thought this was going slow, but apparently this is normal and maybe even fast compared to some other people. So
yeah. There's so many things, and even that we had and he's going to be on the podcast here next month, but on our Franchising 360 show a couple of weeks ago, we had a guy that's been doing commercial real estate for franchises forever. And some of the things that he talked about that even, I don't even know that I paid as much attention to, but just like access, right? How hard is it to get in from the right? How hard is it to get from the left, right? Is there any future construction, and knowing the whole area of things? And then it was like, what's one of the biggest hurdles? And it was landlords, because they're not fast to respond, right? On the residential side, let's be honest, realtors get paid when the house is sold, right? That landlord's already getting paid. Like salaried employees are going to have a little less incentive to get stuff done than somebody that is like, it's their business or they're on commission. And so like you have to almost be, I'm sure you did this, but even like for every 3 or 4 times you called them, you might get one call back. Right. And it's easy, and you're a super nice, sweet individual. So there's probably somewhere in your brain, you're like, well, I don't want to bug them. Bug them, right? Yeah. Like leave a message. Okay, I'm going to call you back in an hour. Calling you again. So you kind of have to be pushy in that situation, and yet still patient, because the worst thing you can do is fall in love with something that's not really a good fit from any of those like parameters, especially like like you can change your marketing cost 2 years down the road. Your rent is your rent, right? And so how much that rent is and all the negotiations and how much it's like buying a house and going, yeah, I'd like to negotiate $100,000 of rehab to this house. Like you can't do that. When the commercial spaces, sometimes you can add that in as well. And it's such a whole different world, but it sounds like you're getting close to that. So
yeah,
that's
and I think
good.
And I think the other consideration there too is, when I signed and I was trying to plan out the timing for it, right? I mean, there's only so much Pure Green can control, right? So like, obviously they know their general, construction timeline. They know like, all the stuff leading up to opening, all that stuff. The things that they don't know are obviously permitting, which I still don't know, right? And then like the landlord piece, right? And that's where, I'm still working my corporate job, thank goodness. Right. But like, I was hoping I could open, for example, in September of this year, which is like a month away, and I'm nowhere close to that. Right. It's not going to be September. But I can imagine other people who are doing this, they leave their job, then they don't have income for that much amount of time. I mean, that's something to just be aware of.
Yes. Well, and it's a great point. And there's numerous times over the years I've had to basically like beg people to not quit, right? You at least enjoy your job, right? There's oftentimes it's the reverse where it's people like, get me out of here. You gotta just either make it, like, find a way to get them to fire you and give you a severance, right? But otherwise suck it up, because you just, it's I think the real estate side is exciting, but also maybe the most frustrating thing, because you really have so little control over, you're waiting on people in different points to get back to you, and they don't have the same level of urgency that you do, because this is your business and your money. I want it now. And they're working with however many different places along the way. So, but the what sounds like you've done a very good job of is having the patience within all of that to not just, this one will do, like, follow the process and find that thing that really is the best fit. So you're getting there.
I'm getting there. I mean, it's not, 100% ideal, right? Because the 100% ideal places would have been one of the 10 that, the landlord said no. Right. But if I waited for 100% ideal, like, it still I would have had to wait for something to open up, and it would have been 2 years from now. And so this is where, I'm trying to lean into the entrepreneurial, like, just start, just learn. This is like 90% of the way there. That's fine. Right. Yeah. I'm not going to wait for that perfect scenario.
Well, and here's what you don't know. The ones that you thought were the quote perfect ones, had there been space available, you don't know what those terms were going to be like. Yeah. Right. But you may come back and go, whoa, the heck no. Right. From that standpoint. So yeah, no, that part is good. And so how have you been able to kind of balance this from a time standpoint? You got 2 kids. Well, really, we'll count your husband as the third child, right? So then you got a demanding full-time gig, and now you're out here with real estate. How have you been able to kind of manage all of that?
Yeah, and then I also started a third business, right, which is my AI data business.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a lot. Sometimes when I think back, I'm like, oh my God, what I did all that this week. But I mean, it all comes down to managing the time, right? Fortunately, my kids are at an age where they're semi-independent. Right. I don't need to tend to them all the time. They understand my job usually is me being on the phone, so they don't bother me right when they see that I'm on the phone. So that's good. I have a very supportive husband, very supportive family. I think it's when I'm at my job, I'm like fully at my job, and I just finish everything. Right. That allows me then after work, I do everything else. So I don't have to worry, because sometimes you just can't let go of it. Yeah. But, I've learned to compartmentalize so that I can do what I need to do and do it well. And then I move to something else. Also from the Airbnb perspective, that's fully managed by a property manager. That's not something I'm trying to do at all. Right. So a lot of that was really upfront setup, but as long as you have a good property manager, then you're okay. And I think for Pure Green, I mean, right now it's still early, right? Maybe I'll be telling you a different story once construction starts. I'll have to figure that out. So,
gotcha. Yeah. Well, and I asked that with the thought of, I was going to say, well, you got all this going on, and then Theresa, what the heck were you thinking? You have a whole nother business as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's a business I started about 2 or 3 months ago. It's called Ascend Growth AI. It's a business that's helping other businesses, right? And this is where, when I did franchise, I really wanted B2C consumers, right. But now I'm going B2B, which is something I never thought I would do. But it's helping businesses grow faster by helping them reach high intent customers when they're searching, right? So, imagine, let's say I'm gonna apply this for my Pure Green. Someone is searching, healthy food, clean eating, what to eat in menopause, perimenopause, all that stuff. So you can see when they are not just searching, but high intent searching, which is they're going on Google, they're going on your competitor website, they're going somewhere else, Right. We can get that. And then if companies can use that versus just broadly targeting, which is what they typically do in Facebook and Google ads, you just do broad targeting. You don't know if someone wants it. Right. You can be very targeted and then reach them at the exact time that they want. Right, that they're looking for what you have to offer. So that's the other business that I have. The good thing is that I work. It's how do you do all this? I do work East Coast hours, And then I do all the other stuff on West Coast time. So that's how it kind of all balances out.
Gotcha. Very cool. So anybody that says sitting out there with like just a job and you're like, I don't know, I'm really busy. I don't like just, if you want it bad enough. And again, it always goes back to that kind of the why. And you talked about this at the beginning, your goals for your family, right? And your children of what's like, how do we like get a nice salary at the job, right? And you're happy at your job, which again is rare. But you have no idea when all of a sudden they could go, you get called into the HR office and there's a box there waiting for you, right? You don't know with that. Whereas these things that you're doing, you've got real estate, you've got a franchise, now we've got another business, all of those things, right? That's fantastic, building that wealth for the family long term. So I love that.
Yeah,
so,
and if I could add too, like, part of my, my AI business is I do podcasts, right? So I've been reaching out to a lot of business owners, just because I want to learn about the world. I've been in corporate for so long, so I just want to learn about the world. And I usually ask the question, what would you tell your younger self? And I would say 80% of the people say, I wish I started sooner. Like every business owner, most business owners are very happy with their journey, happy how they're doing, right? And, I don't really hear that in corporate, right? So, yeah, so it's different. I mean, just like the nature of any corporate job, right? It doesn't matter what company. I mean, it's just, you're kind of just a number to them, right?
Correct.
And that can happen at any point in time. Whereas, these business owners, they've built, what they built it, right? And so no one's going to tell them, right, stop one day. So it's very different, which I really appreciated. I'm really enjoying learning that right now.
Yeah, no, it's always, and I had when I was in the corporate world, I had an HR person tell me this, and because I'd been in a company for about 5 years, and I felt like they had been like good to me at that time of my life, but I was ready to move on. And I'm like, I kind of felt like I felt bad that I was leaving because of that. And she's like, don't did you work hard when you were here? Right? Did you try to do the best while you were here? Yes. Oh, okay. Your loyalty is here while you're here and we're paying you. It's not forever when it's time to move on. And we've got somebody right now that always stuck with me. We've got somebody right now will be coming onto our team, kind of from a support standpoint in September, and goes to give notice, and like, she says, well, I might do like 30 or 60 days. I'm like, what? They would fire you in a hot second, right? And like just immediate gone. But where there's almost like, it's like this, I don't want to say this like in jest necessarily, but it's almost like a battered relationship in the corporate world, right? Like we get kind of stuck on, well, like, I know, but it's just the way it is. Like and we get caught up in that paycheck of this. And so I love the approach you guys are taking with this of, look, how do we expand out, right? And again, you're in a fortunate situation. You work for a great company and you enjoy your job. That's rare. So at least being able to take advantage of that and kind of utilize that to build the rest of this stuff is super cool. So you also mentioned the podcast. What is the name of your podcast?
It's called Ascend Growth AI. So yeah, I started it. It's on YouTube. There's like 30 followers. It's fine. But I mean, the point was to learn, right? That was the whole point. I've been in corporate for so long. It's one world. Business ownership, entrepreneurship is a whole different world. Franchising is even its own world, right? Yeah. So I've been reaching out to various leaders in the franchising space and just like people who own their own business. I'm talking to franchisors, for example, and it's really nice because a lot of people are willing to talk and share their journey. And so, it's similar to this. I just have a conversation with them and then I post the videos on YouTube. So
nice. Excellent. Yes. And so definitely follow that podcast. There's going to be one coming up that's going to be absolutely amazing. I don't want to be a spoiler alert or anything there, but no, there was, it was it's super fun. And I love that the AI, I just think in general, if you're not paying attention, if you're ignoring that aspect or have fear of it, you're gonna get left behind. And so just if nothing else, and you do a great job of this, of just educating people on this, how it can work, how it can help. I think anything that's new, like there's always the fear of the unknown. But it's the same thing with franchising. I don't know. Like just learn, right? And again, you'll either find out maybe it's not for you, but maybe it is. So, so you've gone through all of this, and I'll kind of fire one last thing at you here, and I'll let you back to your day. But you've kind of come again, as we talk about, full circle. Great career, doing well, looking for something a little bit more. Start listening to the podcast, start doing some research, and now here you are as a franchise owner. There's somebody out there listening right now, kind of where you were a year or so ago. What's something you would say to somebody listening and wondering if this might be the path for them? What would be some advice you would give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your personality, right? So I think if you probably are very risk averse, right, and you're thinking about owning a business and you have even golden handcuffs, right? I do think franchising is a really good route because you have the support from the team. They have a playbook. They have best practices. You have like almost like quote unquote a family that you can join. So honestly, to me, franchising is almost like a low risk way to get into owning a business. However, if you don't want to follow the playbook and you feel like you want to do your own thing, but then you have to know that comes with the trade-off of trying to figure it out on your own, maybe don't go into franchising, right? I think franchising is really good, but you're also paying for that, right? With the royalties, right? That's what you're paying them for. So it depends on how much you want to pay. It depends on your risk. I think the other thing is don't expect it to go fast. Right. And I keep on going back to like the corporate thing, because I know like there's I hear stories of people who are in corporate and they want to leave, they want to do something else. Yeah, don't leave your job or don't think that it's going to go fast, because there are things outside of franchisor's control that you just don't know, like the real estate, like the permitting process. Yeah. But I think if you're thinking about doing it, like just start. Like the one thing that I've heard from so many people, like, they wish they did it sooner. They thought about it too long. Like just start, right? And then at least do it while you're doing the other thing. I mean, I know sometimes that can be hard to balance and manage, but it's better than stopping one and then doing the other, at least in my opinion. Yeah.
And just, if nothing else, just start the learning process. And maybe it's and we get that all the time. Like, oh, I wish I'd have done this sooner. And sometimes people really kind of beat themselves up over that. And I'm like, no, it wasn't the right time then, right? And so like it's easy to kind of go back with like, because you're seeing how much happier you are now and wishing you could have applied that sooner, but it wasn't the right time. So I just think if you're curious at all, like frankly, that's what we're here for, is to help people learn a little bit and see if it is or if it isn't, right? And your comment on the ramp up phase, brick and mortar, like, I mean, man, don't, I mean, unless you're sure you got the money sitting around to fund everything in your house for the next year, don't quit your job yet, right? Because it's not really a full-time gig during all of this. But somebody may be like, like, hey, no, hey, they told me I got 90 days and I'm out, or I can't make it another 90 days. Well, maybe brick and mortar isn't the thing. Maybe it's something that doesn't require that, where you can get up and running in 60 to 90 days and you're like, whew, I'm out of there. Let's go. So, so cool. No, Theresa, I can't thank you enough it's been just an absolute pleasure. Always talking to you and working with you. I'm excited to see when this is open. Please, and I know I don't have to remind you of this. Let me know when it's open. I got some peeps in San Diego, and one of which is an old college friend, and I will just bully them into going. So,
okay, good.
Yeah,
you bully them into being a regular customer.
I will do whatever, and they've been in San Diego forever. So, like, they probably have to have at least a couple friends, right? So
Yeah.
I'll get you at least a couple customers for sure with this. And then, but no, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with everybody. I greatly appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate that too.
All right. I want to thank again out to Theresa for joining us today. Excited to hear about her journey and watch it as she's getting ready to launch her Pure Green franchise in San Diego. For all of our loyal podcast listeners, thanks as always for tuning in and listening. If you have not yet, please subscribe, follow, like, all of those fun things wherever you're listening to your podcast. Don't forget our YouTube channel, FranCoach for you, the letter 4, like the number 4 and the letter U. Let's try that again. So FranCoach for you is our YouTube channel. All of our podcasts, our Franchising 360 TV show can be found there. A bunch of other stuff as well. And then when you're ready to chat, our website, francoach.net. Remember, Franchising 101 podcast equals FranCoach. Our team is here ready to help you. There's never, ever any fee for our service. So when you want to learn a little bit more, let's dive into this. Let's understand if this is for you and what might be the best franchise so we can help you create your better tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll talk to you next week.